Alright guys, I have a viewer requested video here. Um, I'm going to be showing how to create a bootable USB drive to load Windows from onto a PC. Now the tool that I use to make these bootable drives is called Rufus. I'll link this website down below in the description so you guys can check it out if you want. Um, you'll need at least an 8 gig USB flash drive for this tool to function properly. And now I have a 16 gig right here. I'm going to go ahead and get this inserted. Now, if that is the only USB drive that you have plugged into the system, it will automatically detect it and select it for you. But if you have multiple USB flash drives plugged in, you'll have to use this drop down box here to select the proper one that you want to use. Now right here, it gives you a few options. You can make it non-bootable, which is not what we're going to do on this video. You can make a bootable DOS flash drive, which basically boots up to a command prompt. And then here, we'll let you select an ISO of Windows or Linux. You can select it here, press the select button. Now I have several versions of Windows here, just in my collection in general. So I'm going to use one of these, Windows 10 version 22H2, which is the latest release that they have. Another thing Rufus will let you do is if you don't have an ISO already downloaded or pre-downloaded, it will allow you to download that yourself, or allow you to download it through Rufus itself. Now it gives you Windows 7, 8.1, 10, or 11 that you can download directly from Rufus itself. Since I already have one downloaded, I'm going to skip that for now. Image option, standard. I'm going to use the standard option because we're going to be installing Windows. The other option is Windows to Go, which it will actually install Windows on the flash drive itself and allow you to boot from the flash drive into a full Windows environment. It'll bring you to the desktop and all. So these next two options basically asking you if your system is BIOS or UEFI compatible. If your PC was built in the last 10 years or so, it is UEFI compatible. UEFI is the newest version of BIOS. Allows for more advanced features, keyboard, mouse functionality, this, that, the other. Now BIOS is obviously the older version, and the particular system that I'm going to be booting from or using this flash drive in that the viewer requested me show how to do, it's a 2011 model Dell, and it only supports BIOS. So that's what we're going to be using. The volume label, that can be anything you want it to be. It's basically just labeling the flash drive, giving it a name. These other options, you can leave those as default. The other option down here, it's just more advanced options that you don't really need to worry about for just your standard image. Once you have all those selected, you can press start. These you can leave a default. It will give you the warning message that everything on your flash drive will be erased during this process. So if you have anything on there that you want to save, I suggest go ahead and copy it off before you start this process. Now this is probably going to this takes about 10-15 minutes depending on the system you're using. Now I'm using a USB 3.0 device, which is going to drastically increase the speed over a USB 2.0 device. But once this finishes up, I will be back so we can boot so I can get this inserted into the Dell and boot and show you guys that process. So I'll be back shortly. Alright guys, on this particular system, as you can see, I'm using the Dell Precision T7500. It is running the latest BIOS version, BIOS version 8.18. Now on Dell's, now this will vary from system to system or manufacturer. But on Dell's, you can press F12. As soon as you hit the power button and it starts booting up, you can hit F12 to get to the boot menu. Once you're at the boot menu, you will want to go into the BIOS settings to ensure that the USB ports are actually enabled. Now, I typically insert the USB drives in the rear USB ports of desktops. So right here, you just want to know, like I said, these settings are going to vary from system to system. Not all BIOS tables will look like this. You're not going to find all the settings in the same exact location, so you may have to dig around a little bit. Basically, what you want to do is you want to make sure all the USB ports are enabled, both rear and front USB ports, and some systems have the option to enable USB port booting. So you want to make sure that's enabled as well. Once you have verified those are enabled and have those settings applied, you will want to reboot and go back into the boot settings. Like I said, on Dell's it's F12. Alright, so on this device, it detects that USB drive as just a USB device. So that's what we will select. And of course we have to hit a key to confirm USB booting. Now it's going to take a couple minutes for it to read all the data off that USB drive and load. Alright, from here you just go through it like you normally would with any other Windows install. Typically you just keep everything at the defaults. And for your standard user, standard everyday user, default settings will be perfectly fine. Now, I'm not going to type in my product key here because I don't want to have my product key out in the open like that. So I'm just going to skip that part for now. And since I skipped the product key, it's asking me what version of Windows I have. So I'm just going to select Pro here because that's the product key I have it for. Of course, I accept the license agreement. Now I typically go to custom install, and when I'm installing a fresh copy of Windows or any other operating system for that fact, I will actually go through and delete every single one of these partitions and click next and let Windows create the partitions how it sees fit. Now I'm not actually going to delete the partitions on this system and load Windows because I already have Windows loaded. I have dual boot Windows 7 and Windows 10 set on here, and I don't feel like going through all that setup again, so I'm just going to leave it as it is. But I mean, that's the gist of it. That's how you get this particular, that's how you get a USB drive created for this particular system. It booted up, from the media. Now, like I said, the options will vary from system to system, but that's the basics of it for just about any system out there. If anybody has any questions, more than willing to answer them down in the comments. Just let me know what your questions are, and I'll do my best to answer them accordingly. And I hope this helps you guys, and I hope you find it informative. Thanks for watching.